Sound check, are we good? Welcome to the world without people. Welcome to the world without people. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of The World Without People. Actually not another episode. This is the first episode of season 4. I'm so excited. I'm always excited. My name is Ayomide Robert and I'm so glad to be here. It's been a while. This is the first time we're starting the season so late. And obviously, as you can see, there are a lot of changes happening with the set and all the great things that we plan to do in this season. And that's what took so long, I promise, because some people were checking on me like I was purposefully hiding. We're not purposefully hiding, I promise you. Just trying to make it the very best season yet. I can't believe we're in season 4. I mean, it's just crazy sitting back in this chair again. It feels very, very weird actually. It's been a long time. 3 months. Yeah. It's quite literally the longest time I've ever done it, so it's feeling kind of weird, but it's a good time to be back. The year I feel like is just starting. I feel like I'm just getting to all the things I said I was going to do on the vision board, or in fact maybe just finally putting the vision board together. And so it's a really great time to be here. Just thinking about what it feels like to sit back in this chair again. I think I've had so many people share so many amazing stories with me, personal stories with me, raw stories with me, that, it feels like a seat of wisdom, if that makes sense. Where I get to share, or I get to listen to a lot of wisdom and share that with you. And so I'm very, very happy to be back. And I hope you guys are happy to see me as well. I've gotten a few DMs and stuff. So thank you to everybody who's missed us and is looking forward to us coming back. Thinking about last season, right? Looking back and thinking about why season 4 feels different. I think that I've thought a lot about, okay, what does this mean for me? Why am I still doing this? And coincidentally, season 4 is also the year I turned 40. There's some wisdom there. I don't know what it is. But there's something I think that coincides with that. So I think it already feels different. It already feels wiser. I don't know if that makes sense. Obviously, the challenges are different. I'm now into my second year of marriage, so things have settled down a bit, but not exactly. So it's a little bit of that. Family planning is heavily on the mind, so a lot of things are different. But I think I'm especially happy, and I'm hoping, with all of the great conversations that I'll be sharing with you, to talk about some things that we haven't, really explored. There's a lot of topics, obviously, that we haven't really explored. Topics that are, meaningful and all of that. But I think one of the things that someone told me about the podcast and what we're doing here, she had mentioned that, we're going to be friends even outside of, any other relationship, because I didn't know what the podcast had done for her. And one of the things she had mentioned was how she was able to connect with someone she's never met across the country, and they're doing business together out of her coming on this podcast. And so if I ever feel like I don't know what the hell I'm doing with my life, I remember that conversation, and I remember that that's what this podcast does for people. Every so often I see somebody say, take the mic off all these podcasters. There's a lot of podcasts and all of that. And I'm like, I actually agree. And then I remember again that somebody has been blessed somehow by hearing the guest, not me, because I mostly do not talk on the episode, other than this first episode and the last episode. And people are getting changed, people are learning new things and things like that. So I'm really grateful for everybody who's been on the podcast in the past. I think every one of you know that you can call me at any point in time, and I'm totally indebted to you. I'm grateful for the conversations that we've had. I'm grateful for how far this podcast has gone. Like, I was reviewing the numbers, and we're in Spain, a lot of male listeners. I was talking to somebody, a guy I just met, and he had mentioned that he'd listened to the podcast, and he didn't just say, "Oh, I've listened to the podcast." He's like, "Oh, this person was on that podcast. This person was on that podcast." So he'd actually listened to a lot of the podcasts too, where they were setting male figures on the podcast. So again, shout out to all the males that come on my podcast. It's going to be very more of that as well. I think those are some of the things that I am looking forward to, and that's why season 4 already feels different. The other thing to kind of think about is the conversations that are feeling more urgent to me right now. And obviously we're in that year where, we're going to start voting. So that's something really important. I think that we should all kind of get talking about. There have been some tax changes, particularly talking about Nigeria now, of course, because this is where I now live. But there's obviously a lot of other global things as well. But tax changes, what does that mean for our finances? What does that do for a lot of younger people? How are we all figuring this out? I think those are some of the conversations that are urgent to me. Family planning, like I mentioned, is going to be very urgent. A very urgent conversation, I think, for me. One of the things I've been thinking about is my church is doing this affinity group, and it is doing it based off of relationships, and it's divided married people into like 0 to 3 years, and then 4 to 7 years, and then 7 to 10 years. I've been thinking about, okay, what are those challenges different from those kind of different age groups? Also, relationships beyond romance, right? We're getting into, or we continue to see how dating, for example, is becoming, or marriage, or all of that is becoming less and less the focus. It's more about your work relationships, your friendships and things like that. So I'm again, looking forward to having some kind of or many rich conversations around these kind of things that I've noticed, and I'm really more curious about. I'm also more curious about health nowadays, right? Obviously, again, like I said, big 40, so we're trying to look good. But practically, right? I went to this naturopathic doctor. Don't ask me why, but I just thought I'll try. And so she makes me do this test, and I'm just supposed to hold something, and it's supposed to give me a readout of my functions, and nothing. Apparently nothing. Like, I should be dead, apparently. According to this test, like, my brain wasn't working, literally nothing. My heart wasn't working. And I'm like, how do we get sucked into some of these things? Like, I can imagine that a person less educated would get that result, be so worried, spend all of their money and give all of their money to this person, and spend their life chasing something that, I think putting it in ChatGPT will help you know that this is impossible. You will quite literally be dead. Talking about healthcare in Nigeria, obviously, as you know, public health, and this is what I love still, and just trying to figure out, how do we get our parents and those who are less educated to not fall for some of these traps. So I think for me, those are some of the things that I'm thinking about, and all that. And then thinking about how my own growth has changed how I will listen to guests and keep listening to guests. I think, I saw something about this skater she was part of the US Olympics. And she has talked about how at 22, she analyzed her own thoughts. Like, she was critical about what she was thinking and changing the thoughts and realizing that neuroplasticity which is just the idea that you can change the way your brain thinks. Like, it's not exactly, that's not the exact meaning. But the idea is, if we, let's say, for example, you're the kind of person who is usually always depressed, you can change that mindset with a lot of deep work, of course, and your brain then forgets that you were that person that was depressed, right? Because our brains are able to reform, be reformatted, for lack of a better term. I mean, the Bible explains it a lot better and a lot easier than science is trying to explain it, right? That's why the Bible says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind, right? But we have to do that work. We kind of have to put that into practice. And so from a lot of, I'm looking forward to all the conversations that I will be having, and changing my own mindset as well, continuing to anyways, I think is one important thing. So yeah, with that said, obviously we're going to have a lot of new segments. Maybe not a lot, I'm exaggerating. But we are keeping our, good segments. I think people have always done really very well with the questions. Now, nobody must ask me the question about why did I move to Nigeria again. That one is that one is not allowed anymore. Nobody should ask me why I started the podcast anymore. No longer allowed. But people get to ask me one question each time, and so that's going to be fun. I think, obviously, we've done some fun segments like this or that and stuff like that. So, we're going to keep that, trying to get some more, I don't want to say fun. That sounds that sounds silly, but just get to know our guests more. Not just about the topic, but have a little bit of banter, and do some more new segments that are hopefully engaging, and all of that. So I think, yeah, that's it as far as this first episode goes. For the most part, what I want to do and I need to do now is then to invite you to come be a part of this, right? I think if you've ever thought that your story was too small, wasn't big enough, I assure you that is not the case. Every single story on this episode, I am amazed at the number of people that will reference an episode that may not have been the best as far as numbers go for us, on the podcast. And I'm telling you that stories are becoming more and more and more important. It's so funny. I've seen it over the past few weeks that even in the age of AI, what people like Netflix and Meta and all of that are, what they're paying for, what they're looking for as far as marketers, is actually storytellers, right? There's been a few jobs where I'm like, do I need to apply? Because what they're looking for is what they're calling storytellers or story hunters. I'm sure you guys have seen this on social media. So it tells me that there's something to be said about stories, right? It tells me that there's something to be said about important stories. Social media is not dying because people are interested and continue to engage with these stories. So I want you to know that your story is important. No matter how small, no matter how big, it's not the size of the story, it's really the impact it brings to people. Because so many people, as you and I know, right? I'll give an example. Again, talking through fertility journey, you're talking to a lot of people, and then you realize, oh, that person went through that, and that person went through that, and that person went through that, and we're going to talk about it over the course of the season. And you're just like, why did nobody ever say this? Why? I just don't understand why there's not a national forum or national conversation around this. I remember the first time I went to a conversation around menopause, and people were talking about how menopause can start as early as 35. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, that was not the story they told us. They told us that menopause was after your childbearing age, which was, in your mind, 40s and 50s. Well, welcome to 40s. We're already here, right? But then finding out that some people were starting earlier was so mind-blowing to me. And that's because, one, as a culture, as most of you know, especially the Nigerian culture, we don't get to talk about these things. We don't share these things. It's such hidden things. Like, my mom is literally probably going to die at the fact that I've mentioned fertility journey and I mentioned my age just in this first rest of the season, because that was what the culture was, right? And we need to change the culture. We need to change the narrative, because we need to bring help and solution to people. It's very, very vital. I have so many thoughts about that, so we'll talk about it more. But, I think it's just really, really vital that you share your story. I think, if you've lived something that you're still processing, right? I remember the episode with Olajide, Dr. Olajide, talking about losing his wife, right? As she gave birth to their 3 kids. I mean, I don't think there's anything more, I don't know. That was one of my most heartbreaking yet most vital episode. I don't know if vital is the word, but I think for me, it was just an episode that made me think there's life. Like, with life, you can overcome anything, because I didn't live that episode sad. I left with hope. I left with faith, right? Because of what that conversation brought. So I think for me, I want you to know, if you are living through something that you're still processing, you just want to talk about it. I'm definitely the one to talk to. If you're in your season of becoming, I think a lot of us are using that word sometimes a lot much more than it probably should be used. But we all are, right? In a sense, we're all growing, we're all being a better person. Some of us through different things, like your season of waiting, through patience, through faith, whatever it is, work situations, that kind of thing. And I do think that, again, these are conversations that we should share, and we must share to help the next person. Again, I'll give another example. I remember writing a letter on LinkedIn about my experience with finishing my PhD and how difficult it was. Without knowing what viral was, that post went viral, for lack of a better term. But it didn't just go viral where people were just saying, hey, yeah, oh yeah, sorry, it's not like that. Oh, you can do that. I got practical help. That allowed me to finish my PhD paper in 3 months. I believe it was 3 months, and graduate, right? And that's part of also what sharing stories do, right? I'm not here to just tell you a good story and yay, just and clap about it, kind of like what we see with a lot of IG stories. No, I really want these to be practical and meaningful and actually connect people to one another. So if you're listening and you want to speak to the person who's talking, or vice versa, right? Maybe through engagement on social media, they see your comments and they can connect with you. I think that will give me the greatest joy. So I definitely want you to please join us on the episode, engage with us on social media, be a part of what this amazing season is going to be. And so as I close, what am I excited about this year? Okay, let me just tell you, there's no party. There's going to be no party. We can end that one. But I am looking forward to all the other people's parties that I'll be going to that are turning 40. So please send me your invite. Include me. I'm looking forward to that. I'm obviously just looking forward to the conversations I'm going to be having, looking forward to an amazing year in Nigeria. But I'm also looking forward to, by God's grace, a lot of good change in governance in Nigeria. I can tell you that. I'm really, truly hoping that this is the year that we start to break free from those chains that have been, particularly tying us as a country down. And I'm looking forward to what the global implications of some of those things will be. Seeing everything that's happening in the US, for example, in Canada, and so seeing what, the change that happens in Nigeria, how it ripple effects over to all these other countries. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, of course, continuing to look forward to a blissful marriage, and meeting more people, and maybe finally starting a community like we said. I mean, we started a community, you get what I mean, but like actually meeting people in person, from this little community that we started. People keep, obviously encouraging me to do that. Maybe this will be the year. So pray for me, encourage me. I think you can help me. You can encourage me by sending me DMs and all these little things, Instagram, whatever. Just keep nudging me to do it. If you nudge me enough and I see that there's enough engagement from you guys, I will definitely host something this year. That's my promise. But I have to see that engagement. I do plan to also, I don't want to say, I almost want to say, okay, I'll give it to my assistant to keep posting things on social media. But I do think, I've been seeing a lot about selling your own markets. Like if Dangote still does ads, or, some of these big people, they're still selling their own markets, right? Who am I not to sell their own, my own market? So I will do a better job of selling my own market. So please engage with all my reels and all those good things. I know these guys are very excited. They're behind the scene. They're very excited to put me in videos and things that will get me on social media. I'm looking forward to that. What else? I'm trusting God with, just more growth with this, obviously, and in every way, shape, and form of my life. And for your life, honestly, I really want to hear your testimonies as well. But one thing I do want to leave us with, actually, I forgot one thing first before this last thing. So let me go back real quick. We're starting the season in March, which is our Women's Month, right? Women's History Month, Women's Appreciation Month, all the good things. And I do want to give a second to shout out all the women in my life who've been a support. My mom, of course, my two sisters, Motalani and Oluwaseun. Who else? All like everybody. Like I don't even know where to start from. My assistants, my social media people is headed by a female intern. Who else? Oh, my friends. Fumi, Debbie, Toby, just to name a few. Like I can't name like 100. You guys have all been so supportive and all of that. And I'm doing that on purpose to just encourage all of you to please, let's uplift women this year, or this month in particular. Let's use this as an opportunity to uplift women. The theme for this year is give to gain. And so one of the few things that I've thought to give to other women this year, or I wrote down as part of their, let me not say I thought, as part of their campaign, they have a list of all these things. And these are the ones I thought were more meaningful to me, which is give to other women credit, give to other women respect, give to other women truth, give to other women protection, give to other women sponsorship, give to other women introductions, give to other women mentoring, give to other women safety, give to other women training, give to other women knowledge, give to other women access, give to other women time, give to other women voice, and as is within my power, to give to other women equal pay. In other words, fighting for that. But I think those are some of the things that I in particular thought were the most vital of some of the, the words or the things we can give to gain in this year. And I'm looking forward to hearing what you are giving to gain as a woman. Women give all the time. Intent was like, women always give. And yes, it's true, women always give, but we can always keep giving, right? I think, again, using the Bible as a reference, that's what we're called to do. So, not just to women, to everybody around us. But I do think that sometimes we're less willing to give to women, right, than we are to give to children, and to men. And I think we can do a better job. So I just want to leave us with that as we approach Women's Month. Give a hug as well, show some love. There's nothing better than that. There's really nothing better that you could do. And lastly, one of the things as I close that, again, just thinking about why am I still doing this? Why consistency still matters even when growth feels slow. I think for me, the reward is so much more bigger than I might know at the moment, right? I don't expect to know how much this consistency, not too many podcasts can boast of the amount of episodes that we've put out throughout last year and every other year since then. Before that, we consistently put out an episode every other Tuesday. We did not miss one, even when it was last minute, even when it was do or die, even when we had to rethink what the process was. We did not miss one, and we don't intend to miss one again this year. And not many podcasts, even the big ones, are doing the numbers. And when I mean numbers, not numbers as far as money and stuff like that, but numbers as far as how many episodes have ever come out. And I think for me, that's been really, really to show that when you put your mind to something, you can make it happen. But I know for a fact that the impact, even the small impact I think I'm seeing now, is nothing compared to what it's going to be, right? And for that, I want to encourage you this year as you move forward, right? You always see these things start before, start even when you're not ready, all of that stuff. It seems cliche, but please do start. Even when you have to pause, like we have to pause, for this season, please make sure you pause, but get back up, right? It's like working out. I've been, on my fitness journey, and I am quite literally in pain right now. Like my arms are in like legitimate pain, but I've been doing this consistently for like a month. I'm just saying consistently, right? And I look at myself in the mirror sometimes and I'm like, I look at myself sometimes in the mirror and I'm like, I'm not, what's happening? Like, why do I look bigger or feel bigger than what I've been, with all the work that I'm doing? Like, it's not showing. It's quite literally not translating yet. But summer body's coming. I know it. I feel it. And I can't wait to have it. And that's what consistency means, even when growth feels slow. So I just want to leave you with that. Please remain consistent in all that you're doing. And I cannot wait to see you in the next 2 weeks for our very first guest. Thank you everybody again for joining us, and I cannot wait for our very first guest, and I can't wait to see you in 2 weeks. Like, subscribe, all the good stuff. Thank you guys. Come to the world without people.